Hey, how's it going? It's about 4:30 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. If you don't know, in the last 24 hours, uh, the presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden has selected Kamala Harris as his running mate for the 2020 election coming up in November. Uh, and of course, it didn't take long for a lot of people to criticize this decision. You know what is amazing to me is I know a lot of people who are acting like, well, I wanted Bernie Sanders. I wanted AOC. And look, you know what? I like AOC. She's a great woman. I think she does a lot of good. But I think she's more needed right now in Congress. And as for Sanders, I'm sorry, but some of them Bernie Bros is the reason why we're here right now with Trump. Now, I don't want to get off on a rant here, but a lot of people on the left, a lot of Democrats, are misogynistic. Yes, they are. Let's try not to deny it. It's not everyone on the right. Let's give the conservatives a little bit of a break this time. You know what I mean, Vern? So, and what I like hearing is the phrase, just not her. You ever heard that phrase before? Of course, just not her. You hear this all the time whenever a politician, a female politician, um, runs for elective office, and people just turn out to vote against her. Now, what people want to say is, no, it's 2020, and you usually hear this. I started hearing this around about the time Hillary Clinton was running for president back in 2015, 2016. Hey, I'd vote for any woman right now for president of the United States, just not her. All right, well, why? Oh, of course, just not her. That is the phrase that has become more popular with the saying people who don't want to admit that they're racist or misogynistic or chauvinistic pigs. They just want to use it as an excuse. It's kind of like the because I said so version of why they choose to vote the way they are. Now, if you do know that the libertarians, who I feel will become a very strong political party within the next 10, 15 years, I had chosen Miss Jo Jorgensen as a candidate, and I really hope her the best in future elections. I know she probably isn't going to get real far in this election because we have the Electoral College. If you don't know what the Electoral College is, you're an idiot, all right? Let me tell you what the Electoral College is. It's some stupid, half-assed 19th century way of allowing the South to count their slaves as part of the population, even though the slaves back then weren't able to vote. See, most people lived up in the North, and a lot of people in the South, which I'm from originally, felt that if we let so many people vote and we let the population control the vote, that somehow maybe the northern people will somehow become president. X, Y, Z. What's so funny about this is that we've had 45 presidents over the lifetime, and you know how many of those were actually from the South? Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush. I'm not counting George W. Bush. He was from the North, all right? Check it out. He was born in Connecticut, all right? He was about as southern as I don't know, Florida, Georgia line. Come on, the guy, he tried to pattern himself off as some rural cowboy, and people bought it. And of course, you had LBJ, who, for lack of a better word, was Kennedy's only way he was able to get on the ticket. Let's face it, Kennedy really didn't have a shot in the prayer of ever getting the presidential nomination or even the vote. I don't care what they say about the mafia ties with Frank Sinatra and this other stuff that's come out in the last 50, 60 years. It was LBJ who got him the nomination and got him the win. All right, let's face a few facts here. Kennedy needed LBJ because he needed all them Southern Democrats, those districts, them good old boys to get some Irish Catholic guy coming in and bringing the Pope, the Attorney General of the United States, whatever crap that was, they said. But let's face a few facts here. Just not her is what people say when they want to sound more reasonable than what they really are. And I heard a lot of this a couple of years ago when Stacey Abrams ran for governor of Georgia. I'm from Georgia originally, and Georgia is probably one of the most dumbest fucking states I've seen in the last few years, because they were actually able in the 21st century to pull themselves out of this deliverance, squeal like a pig mentality by having a very impressive film and TV industry, having a very impressive news industry, CNN, and of course the great Coca-Cola. Now this is an interesting fact of the matter is, you know that Coca-Cola at one time owned a major movie studio? Yes, it did. Columbia Pictures. So they had very powerful people in charge of everything. And of course, when the film and TV industry came about 15 years ago, it was almost a godsend to this state, because we had some of the biggest pictures in the world being produced in Georgia, such as the Avengers movies and other MCU movies, and likewise just about everything else. Walking Dead, I don't care about that, but it really kind of changed the notion of the South as some Civil War numbskulls to a bunch of actually sophisticated business type metropolitan people. And that was, I think, the best thing that happened to the state until they elected Brian Kemp, who basically looks like the racist sheriff, mayor, police chief, whatever you want to call it, county commissioner, and every white savior civil rights movement that's come out in the last 40, 50 years. But anyway, I kept hearing about people talk about, well, Stacey Abrams, what about her? Well, it would be nice, people would say, if we could have a black woman as governor of Georgia, just not her. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of people do not want any woman as governor. They do not want any woman as president. I know this because I know a lot of women who have been conditioned since birth to realize that the man is the most important thing in their lives. And they went and they voted for Donald Trump. And one of them said this: I just think a man should be president of the United States. This was somebody who was born in the late 70s. Not some old biddy. Some young woman who should have known better. Saying that she thinks the president of the United States should be a man. That was her rationale for voting for Trump. And it really just shows you how absent-minded people are when it comes to actual political thoughts, and how dangerous the Electoral College is, how actually very screwed up we will be if a lot of liberals and a lot of Bernie bros and a lot of libertarians decide they want to exercise their hostility and not vote for Biden and Harris. Now, I don't want him to go off on a rant here, but Joe Biden isn't really my first choice. I wouldn't even thought he would have been the candidate a year ago, but that's what happened. And I hate to say it, but I think a lot of people, they're really looking for something more in Biden than what's there. And I think by him choosing Harris, he pretty much has hopefully secured the vote that a lot of people are wanting to cast. But I get really irritated by all these people who want to vote third party, yet they don't want to do anything about knocking down the system that buries their vote. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the scene in Reservoir Dogs. Actually, I have a copy of that movie right here. See, right there it is. Reservoir Dogs. And y'all remind me of Mr. Pink. Mr. Pink got a free meal. Alright, Joe Cabot offered to pay for his meal. Of course, it was a breakfast. In 1992, that was what, was maybe like $10. Still, it's $10 that he saved. All Mr. Pink had to do was throw in a buck. $1. He refused to throw in $1 at first because the waitress had not filled his coffee 6 times, only 3 times. That's what reminds me of these third-party people. You want something, but you don't tell us what you want. You expect us to know what you want, and then when we don't give it to you, you don't want to help out any. You're getting a free meal. You could have asked for another cup of coffee, but because you didn't, you expect somebody to read your mind, and you're going to be crazy and disrespectful and act a little crabby when someone actually pays for your meal and says, "Hey man, could you throw in $1 here to help out the lady?" Now, I know a lot of people say, if you don't vote, you don't complain, and George Carlin once said that you should complain even if you don't vote. And I agree with both sentiments. I think for the most part, a lot of people, what they really want is they just want to complain. And that's why I don't buy a lot of these politicians and pundits who have come out in the last few years. Like Michael Moore can kiss my ass, all right? I'm sick and tired of this asshole. I think he needs this to go away. Michael Moore wants to live in a world in which the Republicans and the conservatives are always in charge, so he can come out and say how bad they are and show how good he is for railing against them, all right? And the same thing with Bill Maher, who I used to like, but now he's really gotten on my nerves because I think Bill Maher is actually the same mold. He really wants Republicans in power. Both Michael Moore and Bill Maher are chasing cars. If you don't know what that term means, it means a dog will chase a car, but what's the dog going to do when they grabs hold of the car? Nothing. They want progressive leadership, or they say they want progressive leadership, but when push comes to shove, they want to complain about what goes on. Now, I got a news flash for a lot of you people who probably never paid any attention to politics before 2008 or 2016. It's not always one-sided, all right? There has to be some common ground on some things, and that is what politics and government is all about. Because a lot more people out there are progressives in the community, and a lot more people out there will be conservatives in another community. You have to find a common ground. Now, a lot of people don't like it when, Barack Obama or Kamala Harris or someone else has compromised something, but what's the alternative? You want Trump in power for another 4 years? And let me tell you something, even if Trump gets out of the office, we're still going to have idiots around. I mean, look what's happening up in Georgia, northwest Georgia, where a woman like Marjorie Greene, who is a QAnon conspiracist, the Republican Party 86er, she still won the runoff. Now, do you think if she wins in November that she's going to say, Trump didn't win, so I guess I'm going to change my tone? No. And what's so funny is you don't hear a lot of this, not just her, when it comes to Marjorie Greene. Yeah, you didn't hear this about Sarah Palin either. Which means that unless the woman candidate is a Republican or a conservative, then she's a problem. And I think it really just shows how some people really think. And I'll say this last thing before I end, because I brought up Sarah Palin. I honestly think that John McCain had not chosen her, let me backtrack, because it wasn't all McCain. If the Republican Party had forced John McCain's campaign to take on Sarah Palin, then very likely he could have been president of the United States. But no one wants to admit that. Uh, I mean, they should have done a little bit more research before they found Sarah Palin. So I don't know. You can watch those videos of her dancing the Baby's Got Back all you want to, but she nearly screwed up this country. So, uh, and I think that since she's a religious person, I think when her day of atonement comes, she'll have a lot to answer for. So, uh, it's a long few weeks, few months until the November election, and all you people out there who are suddenly beginning your anti-Joe Biden, anti-Kamala Harris spills, even though you don't care for Mike Pence or Donald Trump, what are you going to do? You going to sit home? What are you going to do? Because, one day, people are going to get tired of hearing you complain and not doing a damn thing about it.